Hello, my name's Caroline Harper and I'm from the UK. I'm the CEO of Sightsavers globally, visiting here today in India. The first thing I think to focus on is the sheer numbers of people that we've helped. So we've screened in that time some 55 million people for eye conditions. And we've given 5 million people surgeries. So that's 5 million people over those years who've had their sight restored because of the work that Sightsavers has done. And then if you look at the wider picture, back when John Wilson set up Sightsavers here in India, he worked very closely with the government and persuaded them to set up the National Blindness Prevention Council. And that is still going today, effectively. And then most recently, one of the ones we're very proud of, which is where India is showing tremendous leadership in this sector, is there's a treaty that's just been ratified by India, which is called the Wipo Marrakesh Treaty, which will allow blind people access to print, to books. So that's a tremendous thing that India has done working with Sightsavers. Sightsavers never sets up parallel systems. We're very, very clear that we work with governments, and we now have memoranda of understanding with 6 different states across India. And we're hoping to extend that to 8 different states by the end of the year. And when we're designing our programs, we always sit down with the relevant members of the government in those states to make sure that those programs are aligned with what the government require in those states. So that's absolutely critical. Well, I think I mentioned earlier the ones around creating the National Prevention of Blindness Council, but also I think one of the ones that we're particularly proud of, where we worked with some local partners here, Sightsavers, was to get banks to have to ensure that all of their ATMs were accessible for visually impaired people, which is a huge step forward for them. Well, I think the impact that we have is at many levels in society. It's particularly at the individual level, also for families and communities where we've seen that if somebody is blind, they tend to be poorer. If they have their sight restored, that affects the economic situation in the family. And also I think because we work very much with the disabled people's organisations here in India, we strengthen them, support them and help them. And that I think is what enables civil society participation in our sector to flourish. I think that one I mentioned about banks is the one that we're most proud of. To be honest, and also I think the one around the introduction of that Wipo treaty, that will be very important for blind people going forward. We hope that within the next 5 years we will be making transformative change in 100 districts across India, and that's both with the eye health side, so helping the states provide services, and also for people with disabilities and enabling them to improve their livelihoods and for blind children to have access to inclusive education. Not all of them, I think, are as closely aligned with government as we are. I think we probably have the most close relationships at the state level with governments. I think we are one of the largest organisations who've been here a very long time and work with a wide range of different organisations. We have national programmes, which again I think is unusual. And then not all of the organisations in the eye space work through treatment, prevention, and also the social inclusion side. Many of them focus only on the eye health side. But of course, whilst I think we are unique, we also work very closely with all those other players in the eye health sector. I think some of the innovations have been around how we approach our programs, particularly working at the district level, particularly working closely with the government. And then I think with some of our partners, particularly Aravind, it was Sightsavers who initially supported Aravind to develop the intraocular lens so that people who had cataract operations could also have lenses implanted at a very low cost. Historically, that was not possible. The lenses were far too expensive. So that, I think, is an important innovation. Into the future, the area that we think is very important for innovation is around diabetic retinopathy, which, as you probably know, is a growing problem in India. And we're working on some interesting technologies, again with partners, to find how can we do mass screening for for diabetic retinopathy at an affordable cost. Oh, well, there are all sorts of partners here, and again, I mentioned Aravind are particularly important. There's a wide range of partners that we're actually working with. Well, it's very important to say Sightsavers India is its own organisation. So R.N. Mahanti here is the CEO. He runs Sightsavers India. He makes the decisions about which programs he should set up and run. What is wonderful though about Sightsavers is that internationally we are like a family, and we will work very closely together. So RN can call on the support of the UK, he can call on technical support, and also he can provide technical support. So he has his own experts here who help other parts of Sightsavers learn. So we can learn from the programs that are run here, and he can learn from programs that we run elsewhere. And we invest here in India. We invest around 35 crores because we see India as a very important part of the overall program.